Thank you all for being here today. I am Giovanni Tarter and I work as a delivery manager for i-Vertix. Today, I'm here to present this new feature, the i-Vertix Troubleshooter, which is present in the IT monitoring product since version 4.3. This new feature lets you basically quickly edit or debug service parameters and have an immediate feedback. In a simulation-like setting, so basically you are not really changing the configuration, but the running configuration, but you can play and you can fiddle with settings. Then it also allows you to run SNMP queries and walks to your equipment. And the third functionality is to execute debug commands directly from the pollers without the need of for an SSH login. So basically, it should made a lot of debug operation, debug activities much easier, and does not need the need for example, setup of a VPN. So, what are we talking about? Basically, this is my toy central. And in the past, basically, when we need to change the parameters, the macros for a service, we had to select the service from here or from the configuration here. We need to get to the configuration page, change, for example, the threshold that we want to lower or raise. For example, let's set that to 50. This is a service for disk usage. Then you have to then you have to save, get back to the resource status page, export the configuration, and wait for the check. Okay, and wait for the check to be performed again. With the troubleshooter, all of this workflow basically can become much more quicker and more comfortable. So, for example, you can click here on the service, then the right pane opens, and click on the troubleshooter icon here. Let me see. Okay. Then you can just change your threshold or with changing your parameter. Let me see. Okay. Currently, since we set 50 is in a warning state, we can set it back, for example, to 85, like this one. And basically, we can immediately run the check command and immediately get the feedback from the output from the command. After that, when we see that the command has correctly executed, we can also immediately update the service parameter in the configuration with this button. Then, if we need to export, we still need to export the configuration to the pollers. And but all of this in a much more immediate and in a much more immediate way. Moreover, more on that. Currently, we needed the check to be performed, but we are more confident in the fact that the threshold, that the macro that we set is correct because we already run it. In the past, that was not like this because we need the service to be the check command to be executed, and we need to wait for the result. So let's re-see that again. We can get back to the troubleshooter from here, for example, or from here, like we have seen before. Here we have the three main tabs for the troubleshooter, which is the one that shows that allows you control the services, the monitoring plugins. Then we have a tab dedicated for the SMP queries, and one for the command that we can run from the command, the utility command, the one that are similar to the one that you can run from the command line of the poller. So, but we are going to see the latter two tabs later. Let's go back to the monitoring plugin tab. Here we see we have to select the poller from which we are going to run the service. In my toy central, I just have one poller, which is the poller that is running on the central itself. So basically, I have just one entry. But if you have more than one poller, the menu here will be, the list will be longer. Then here I have all the hosts that are being monitored from that poller. For example, you see my host is this one, but we have a lot more. And here I have all the services that are configured on that host. In this selector here, I can also choose a service template. But today we are going to focus only on services, because otherwise the discussion becomes more deep, and we are not going into that. So basically here I have selected the disk C service, and here I have all the macros that are available on that service. So basically I have the threshold that we have seen before. Here I have all the other macros. The other macros contains, for example, the address of the host, the SNMP community, and the version. Clearly, when I change this host here, all the macros, for example, if I change also the service, are filled with the value from the host directly. So let's get back to my previous host, this one, and disk C. So as you can see, all the macros are filled with the values of the service that I selected here. All the macros that are presented here have a circle next to them. These circles reminds you from whether the macro is inherited from the service, if it is pink, or from the host, if it is in purple. The letter inside the circle means that if we are inheriting the macro from the service or from the service template. The same is also for the host template and host. And another nice thing that should be noted is that we can also directly import the credential. For example, if we are trying to run a command that needs SNMP access, we can import the communities that are configured in our central. We can also import different kind of credential like SSH, the NS client credential, and the VSMAN, which basically is WinRM. Clearly, when we import a credential, it is going to be filled in some field here. Then, after having said of all of this, we can see the execute button, which basically commands the poller to execute the command and get the result. The result is presented here in this output box here down here at the bottom of the dialog, like this one. For example, we can set a lower threshold, as we have done before, and we see that the service is set to a warning state. Here we have the result of the service, the state. Here we have the last time it has been executed. And here we have some tabs. The first tab, the first one, basically shows you the output of the command. Then we also have the command that is being run from the poller with the sudo -u Centreon engine, which basically runs the command as the Centreon engine user. That is useful if you need to copy this command in a poller CLI interface and basically really run the command with the right user. Because otherwise, if you run the command as, for example, root, you can have problem with permission on files and etc. Then the third tab is the one that shows you the perf data of the service that are basically the data that are used to print the charts here that are then that you can see here on the right panel and clicking on the graph tab. Then we have this checkbox here that allows us to run the command in verbose or debug mode. They basically just add the verbose and debug arguments to the command. But also, in the case of debug, a new tab is added here where we can see the debug information for the command. Another nice thing that is very useful is the plugin help button here that basically shows us the help write up of the command, which is the one that is printed when we pass the --help argument to the command. So I think that I've said, oh no, there's still this button here that, as we have seen before, basically allows us to configure directly to set the configuration for the service like the macro that we have here. So basically, by clicking on this button, we directly configure, write the configuration to the service in the configuration of the center. So I think I've said everything. So let's move to the SNMP tab for the troubleshooter. And this feature allows you to run SNMP queries and walks directly to your host. For example, here we select, first of all, clearly we select the poller. Then on the poller, we can select the host where we are going to run the SNMP get. As you can see, like in the service plugin, in the monitoring plugin tab, when we select the host, all the meaningful fields are precompiled. Here we set the uptime OID, like this example here, and we have the community. We can also import directly the credential from SNMP. It's useful, for example, if we have SNMP version 3, where we have much more than the community and the version. We also have some settings, so it can become really useful for that. Then we can run the SNMP get. Here we have the result. Our center is up since 23 days. Here we have the status of the query. And here we have the command that is being run on the poller. Then we also have the possibility to run SNMP walks that is really useful. So let's see that. As before, we select the central host, then we execute the SMP walk, which is quite slower because it's going to get all the OID fields from the device, and then we can download the SMP walk file here. The SMP walk file can be also downloaded from the main tab for the SMP feature. As you can see, here we have the time at which the SMP walk file was generated and the most of the parameters, the most important parameters. Having the SMP file can be really useful. For example, when we ask for it, for example, to support your currently not supported device. Here you can also delete the old SMP walks file. So basically, you can just click by just clicking here. Then the third main feature of the troubleshooter is the one that regards the utility commands. And basically here we have a list of commands that can be run from the poller. So again, we need to select the poller. For example, that is my poller running on the central. And here we have for example, uptime. So we can execute uptime and we get the result. With the status code here. Here we can see the command that has been run by the poller. And basically we can run this command to really know when the poller was booted last time. For example, 23 years ago, days ago, sorry, not years. And we also have the possibility to run automatically the command, for example, every 3 seconds. Let's see that. So basically, we have to wait 3 seconds, and then we have the command that is rerun. Let's stop that. Let's go back. And let's see a different command. For example, df. df is the command that lets you know the space usage on the poller or the center in this case. So basically, by executing the command, we know that we have the root partition filled for the 35%. We can change the parameter of the commands that we have here. For example, we can remove the option to get human readable format. So basically, when we execute the command, we have the result in bytes or in bytes. Again, this is the command that is being run. This is the output. So almost everything. This set of utilities can be really useful, for example, when you need to check whether the poller has internet access. So, for example, we can get to curl, we can use curl to check whether we can reach Google. Let's see if it works. Yes, we got a status code, which is 200. So we are pretty sure that we can at least reach Google. I mean, not something more. And then we can go back. For example, we can also test for an S lookup. So we try to resolve google.com and check that. So we see that we are able to get the IP address for google.com. So, and I want to stress the fact that all of these utilities were run without the SSH connection, without an SSH connection. and without, for example, the VPN connection setup. So that could really become useful for basically basic debugging stuff and operation like this one. So my presentation for the troubleshooter is basically finished, is almost finished. And I thank you for your attention. I hope to have told you interesting things. And we'll be here for, I think, a quarter of an hour to wait for a question, or feel free to ask anything you think could be interesting, or even, I mean, please feel free to ask everything that you think is worth of it. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.